Here's the reading for July 12th through the 18th. Let's take a look and see what is there. There's a message about pounding the pavement. We might be looking for a job or looking to connect. We might be hungry to press out there and move forward. Pounding the pavement is also a very appropriate way to put it. It feels as though we have some anger that we're not addressing, or there's something that wants to burst out of us or burst through that could be self-expression or a way of being that we haven't been honest with ourselves about really, almost the word is exaggerating or bringing out in a way that might be uncomfortable to us. We might feel it's exaggerated, but it's actually not. It might seem like somebody who is on a stage performing, it seems appropriate. But once they're off that stage and they're behaving that way or acting in that same way, it seems like too much. It kind of feels like the difference in the two, right? That it's the same thing, but it's the environment that makes that really seem appropriate or not appropriate. But is it? Or is it that we need to find those places where it is appropriate to be that when we're not on stage or when we're not doing that specific thing? Some of us might want to retreat from this and get quiet, particularly the introverts might feel like it's overwhelming them and it's a bit too much. But for them to experience that challenge, because we've been told in our world society, all of us, not just introverts, to, be seen and not heard, to not share the innovative thinking because it bothers somebody or because it's challenging something that's been a way that we've done it, and nobody wants that. And we don't really know why, but it's to a degree in which we know just not to say it, right? I say we really override ourselves and our internal authority because we've been conditioned to do so, right? Okay, let's take a deeper look here. That pavement pounding, let the anger out. You can rub the back of your hands, which massages your liver, which is where we store anger. And really, the liver is about it's unfair, might be what certain modalities say, but I really say it's screaming for love. It's saying, I really, really want to be loved. Please love me. That's just sad, but it's also very true for most of us. I'm just writing an article about AI and how people are turning to that to get real connection in certain ways. It's kind of weird because we can't get that same type of information from other humans. We can't receive compassion. There's too much going on in our world in a way of this system that isn't working for us, that's causing that problem. Okay, let's take a deeper look. And there's also this beautiful levity about where do we go from here? Kind of the sense of, well, not kind of, it's a sense of if there's nothing in our way, what will we do? Which is quite lovely. And it gives us an open drawing board. And the more beautiful thing about it is it's not just about everything's available to us. That's the model. That's the system where we're trying to control something. This is about opportunity. And it's not that there aren't parameters, which is helpful to a creative. I think the best creatives are able to take very little and create something, but they don't start from nothing. And I mean, that doesn't necessarily work out so well. So instead, here are the very three type parameters. The most creative people can make incredible use of those things. Instead of you can do anything, right? That's a very different thing. In a way, this is that positioning. We know that something has to change in our world, society, and in our world because it's not working for humanity. And we have the parameters. We need basic access to things: healthcare, food, education, safe place to live, safe building in which to live, or home, right? These aren't crazy things that we're asking for. Clean water, healthy foods. So this is with the starting point of not how do we provide that for people, but how does that become equitable across our world? We want to think bigger in a way of not, oh, let's package everything, but more accessibility in a sustainable, but also a true way, a way that's human. I mean, growing your own food, it's not rocket science, right? Some places it might be more challenging, but we want to think very differently about that, right? I mean, there are many opportunities out there. So it simply is taking that opportunity and looking at, how do I apply that here? It doesn't work over here. So how do we apply a different opportunity here for that to exist? Right? There are people doing these things all over the world in incredible ways. And the next thing that comes is think bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So there's this expansion of our thinking and of our ability to understand and navigate what could be. And we might end up being I call it a balloon on a string, where the balloon is so far away that it's like, how do we get that brought back to earth, right? And people might say, you need to be grounded, so on. Well, a visionary doesn't tend to be too grounded. And not everybody's a visionary. Everybody thinks they're a visionary. But that the balloon way out there needs to be, we need contact with that. We need to know what we can make of it. So the vision needs to be brought into concrete terms. And that's what the message is we might have all of these really big ideas, and write them down, see which one stays really inspiring for you, and then pursue that a bit and bring it out there, because we're at a place too where there's no wrong answer. It's just simply taking ideas and whittling them down to find out, where does that uniquely express within you, meaning you're expressing in a way nobody else is expressing. And how does that work when you bring it out to the world? But usually we're doing it for ourselves. It's something that we're creating for ourselves. And then we bring it out, right? We've practiced it. Now we know, and we have the experience, and we can share it in some way. Okay, so clearly the energy is stacked in promoting humanity and how we live. How does that work for us? What works well? And what will help us? What will create that longevity, that future for us? Boy, these are big topics. Okay, let's take a deeper yet look. There's some confusion. It's almost as though I'm getting the sense to speak words that they're nonsensical, not that they're a meaning in another language or anything like that, but more like I can't quite get the words out. There's confusion in the ability to voice what I'm really wanting to say, that it's not available to say it, or I can't get it out, is really how it feels. It's almost like it's coming up like, I can't quite get there. And so if you're feeling this frustration, of course you can slow it down. But the other piece of it is, you may find you're trying to say something to some people and it's not making any sense to them because it's not for them. And it's coming out as this gibberish. But that when you get to it, you will say it and be able to say it to the people who are able to take it and move it forward, or hear you and want that. They either want that support or they want that understanding, and they want it to unfold into something greater. So they want to see it, hear it, get it, right? But if you're getting this, I can't figure it out, just take a step back because it's not quite the moment to let it out. And there will be a moment to let it out, and you'll know exactly what to say. And we can get in our head, because of all that conditioning that I mentioned earlier, about, well, I couldn't say it before, so why would I say it now? And we need to override that. We need to say, I'm going to still say it. I don't know why, but I'm going to trust that it's safe to say it. I see a lot of people, clients and so on, having that problem, that they don't know, or that conditioning is so strong in them that they are afraid to say it. And I get it. People were killed for it. That's in us. It's inside of us, that long lineage of experience. So we're setting that down. It will be okay. It's time now to say the thing, to challenge the status quo. There are words here too. Do you wonder where you're going from here? Or do you wonder where you're going in general? That comes out of that verbalization that's a struggle. Where am I headed? And the tricky part is, we don't need to know where we're headed right now. And that's extremely uncomfortable, because if anything in this conditioning is stronger in us, I don't think there is anything stronger than this. It is, you need to know why you're doing it, what you're doing, and so on, which isn't a very creative approach. It's not easy to say, I just know to do it. People will be like, but you got to give me a reason. Otherwise I won't, or this, or there are conditions. And it's fine. You can just say no to those conditions and go ahead and do it anyway. We're confused because we're still in this world society that says you need to justify it, which is that system, or what I call the model. And that's the problem, because it keeps us vying for a place in the hierarchy. And people who are good at saying, well, this is why, and blah, 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 they might not be the strongest players for what we're doing right now. So, you might want to know why you're doing this, but it would be nicer to yourself to say, it doesn't matter. I'm going to do it. I don't even know how or what or why, but I know inside because I'm feeling the confusion of not knowing. And not knowing can be as powerful as knowing. And when I say knowing, I mean that quiet, I know. It's not the person that's like, I know, and here's how it's going to work. That's the model. That's proving. That's not actually knowing. And not knowing is just as powerful because it stays in that calm. I don't know. And people look at that power, they sense it, and they let that go. They generally don't push further. I use the example of I travel a lot and people ask me, what's your favorite country? What's your, how many, blah, blah, all this. And I say, travel is just for me. The travel that I do is just only for me. And they calm down and they don't ask again. I'm not shaming them or saying, stop it. It's not for me to tell. It's mine. And they know that, and I know that. And because I know that, they accept it. Right? That's what we want. I mean, that's what we really want, is acceptance. That's why people are turning to AI to ask questions about life, is we're not accepted in society. We ask somebody for help and they tell us all of their problems. What is that? That is not helpful. That is more distressing when we're coming out of distress or asking for help to come out of something that is too much for us to handle ourselves. We're missing the point in humanity. And it's okay that we are, because it's brought us to this hilt of a situation, whether we call it, I would call it narcissistic social disordering, the model at its highest level, which is the control that we assert to maintain or advance our place in the hierarchy. And we're letting it break apart, letting it fall apart. Let's take another look here. The next message is about surrender to what's inside of you. So it feels, in this very case, it's about fear. And that you might have to sit quietly with yourself and experience the fear. And it feels like it will bring tears and sadness. And sadness is wanting what we feel we cannot have. And you know what? You get to have it in this life. And you know what else? You probably didn't get to have it in other lives. Whether it was a treasured relationship with a very close friend, or sisters, maybe not your biological ones, or a brother, or brothers, or a parent, or whatever it is, that you get to have it in this life. And I feel that there is a group of people in our world who it works for them. They've learned how to work with the system that is there. But I also can see that there are people that system does not work for. And the reason it doesn't work for them is they were programmed a different way. They care about something that's different. They couldn't just scrap and fit themselves into this system. They may have tried, or they may have succeeded at some level, but there's this discomfort in knowing inside this is wrong. And you came with the information on what is next. What is the true way humanity lives? That we live in harmony with what we call our spirituality, but it's actually us. It's who we are. It's already who we are. If we can experience it as humans, it's a human trait. It's a human way of being. Why would we call it anything else? And once in a while, I'll mention the spiritual in my videos, especially my short videos. But the truth of it is, that's human. Is it spiritual? I don't see it that way. I think it's almost, well, I don't think. In my work, I see it as healthier for us to just accept that that is a very human way to be and be human in it. Because it leaves us much more curious than I'm special and exalted and I'm spiritual and higher. That puts us into the model. So who cares about that? Just be our humanness. And when we take our humanness really to its farthest extent that we can personally, life is magic. And you are going to be in an incredible place inside of yourself and inside of your world without doing all of the tricks to get your body to relax and do all of that. It will be relaxed by nature because you're living in your expansive humanness. Why wouldn't we aim for that and do that? Because it will save us a lot of time where we can spend more time expanding and less time practicing a whole bunch of things. Because we want to learn a language or we want to learn how to do something that's physically we don't know how to do it, like dance a certain dance or do something athletic we don't know how to do. That's what we want to be living in the joy of life, in the expression of what we want to grow in and experience. And not doing that for the sense of the ostentatious, well, I've learned this language and I've done this. I met somebody recently who they left their job, they're young. They said, I'm going to go and climb Mount Kilimanjaro. And so later I brought it back and I said, tell me about that. And they, burp, 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 burp. And I think that they're saying it because they need something to say, that it actually is something they'd like to do, but they didn't have the passion behind it when I spoke to them that tells me they're going to do it or why they want it. And I think that we're programmed to have something to say. This person had always been hyper responsible. So what I told them is, why don't you go and find chaos? Find chaos and live in chaos a bit, because it sounds like you've lived a very ordered life. You did all of the right things. And I said, do you agree? And they said, yes. So when it came to sharing in the bigger group, they said, I need to go and find chaos. And there were adults older than this person. This is an adult too, that were nodding their head. They get that, right? They're going to learn a lot about themselves and the measure of who they are when they're put into situations they can't control. They can't aim to get the highest grade. They have no idea what's going on. They'll figure it out and they'll see the measure of who they are. That's what we're up to. There's a message, tempted as you may be, don't go and do that. Okay, whatever that is. Again, the balloon on the string, you might be thinking too big for now. And that it's asking you, if you are interested in that big thing, instead of going and doing the big thing, why don't you do one step toward it in a small way? So let's take the example of Mount Kilimanjaro. You could go and do a hike that's not as intense and see how it feels, right? Like I can think of for that person, based on where they are in the world, exactly the hike they could go do that's right here, kind of in their backyard. Easily take a train and go out and do that, right? Just to get a sense of how long does it take them? What do they feel about it? There's altitude, there's some things there, and it's an advanced hike, but take that step of, do I even enjoy that? And what did I enjoy about it? Right? What chaos was there in that experience? What did I let go and do that surprised me? These choices to start easing in. And beautiful if this person learns, boy, with that hike, I don't want to go and do something 50,000 times harder than this was. That doesn't interest me. Good to know that. Then what is the thing that interests you? We're taking it further. So we're making a step, not a leap right now. And there's this beating of the chest, build, 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 not build it, but build. We could be building our strength. We could be building our mental capacity of, mental endurance, mental resilience. We could be building our anything. our knowledge base, building our business, building our relationships in our home or at work or anywhere. So build and don't know why. It's okay. Be curious. It feels like this week is a lot about leading with curiosity. I keep seeing that thread. I'm sure you hear it. It's right there. There's also partner with people you wouldn't normally partner with in situations to help you see things differently. So if some people have come into your life or you were at an event and there were some people there that you were curious about, connect with them. Because what's happening is they're going to show you a different perspective. And that's what's needed for somebody who has a balloon on a string is different perspective. Oh, I didn't think of that. And they might not be giving the answer because you're not giving them the here's what's going on. They might just say things that help you build it or build upon. That's what's important. And they might do it intuitively and you don't even know why. And you leave thinking, boy, that was kind of magic. And it isn't magic, it's humanness. But what's happening that's different is it is that we are expanding. It's that those relationships are not contracting us. And that's where it might be surprising is it might be people that you would think, I wouldn't normally hang out with these people. And it's not that they're your people. Maybe they are. It's more that they're the way that they think is a catalyst for your expansion, at least right now. And that's important. There's no expectation, but that we need that catalyst right now. And we can accept it and trust it instead of resisting it, which is what we've done in the past. And I'm not saying people that are different from us, but people that might be different in ways that bothered us, or we were told as a child, that means you're not smart, or that means that you're not safe, or you have bad habits, or whatever types of messages we got. These people might feel like, is it safe? Are they who I should? But you need to. It's not about the should. It's about, I'm curious. I don't know, which is power. And so I'm going to go find out. The worst that can happen is I can say, hey, this isn't for me. I'm going to go. Right? That's not wrong. It's straightforward. It also comes from our power. Hey, this isn't working. I'm going to go. Thank you. And we head off. They know directly what happened for us. It doesn't matter. They didn't do something wrong. It's that it's not for us. We know that. But this is going to be for us, and we want to trust it. And like I said, we're not asking them to solve our problems. We're simply having a conversation with them or an interaction with them because they are going to say something that helps us think a different way. And they didn't even mean it. It was out of context of what you're dealing with. And they might even say, I don't even know why I said that to you. You say, I know why. And they say, well, why? It doesn't matter. Thank you for this. Thank you. There's power in it for us. And we're going to see a bit of the fiber of how humanity weaves together in an irreverent way, that it doesn't make sense. It's not logical. That's how intuition works. It's illogical. That's why everybody says everything is connected. That's an illogical statement. And they're right to some degree, but that's just the way the first part of intuition works, is it's irrational. But that's not the full picture. And so when you say that, you're saying something irrational. So stop saying it. And it's a status quo positioning on its own. But that's how intuition starts, is through the irrational. Okay. The next piece is be prepared. And when I see water, it represents career. And this feels like be ready is what I hear. And that there's something kind of a river that's raging that's coming. So for some of you that have been waiting on, things to take, be ready, create that foundation. And it doesn't mean, I know that right now, because of that confusing piece, It can feel like I've put money out, I've done these things, I've prepared, I've done and created, and you hear the word done. Maybe we're done with that. And it's that there is fruition to something you're working on, that the message now is readier than it's ever been, and creating the platform or being ready for people. Okay, so think about that for yourself. What would the foundation look like? Does it mean you need some things in your life that help you feel foundationally what we talked about earlier? Physically, mentally resilient, strong, powerful? Do you need a coach right now to help you get through to that next piece? Take a look at that inside and ask yourself, what would help you build an even stronger foundation? The next thing is trepidation, and there's this kind of like shaky hands happening. And it's about, I don't trust myself. I don't know if I want this. I don't know. I don't know. Let yourself go into it. Maybe sit on the floor and cry through. I don't know. I don't know. Keep saying it. And then allow yourself to move into the next thing that comes naturally. Don't force it, or you can force it too to see if you can access it. But it could be, I've never known, or I will never know, or because it's going to help quench the fear and clinch the fear of the inner child part that's likely trying to speak out. And continue that, I'll never know. You come to the point where you are saying, I do know. When you allow yourself to melt into it and move through it. So allow that piece to be expressed. It will help you come back to you. Those are the words that actually come. It will help you come back to you. And then right after that, it feels like there's this wave of journey on, keep journeying, that will feel robust and a bit more with ourselves and ready for what is next in a way that is confident, even though we still don't have the answers or know. We're feeling it inside. And we know something we didn't know before, but we don't know what that is. And that is really very powerful, because we will know eventually, and we know that. That's a lot of no's. Woo! I get something very strange. I get the name Ponce de Leon, which was the man that I guess found the Fountain of Youth. I believe that's in Florida. And it's about being an explorer and running across something you didn't expect that changes things. I mean, I remember that name and that information from, decades ago in school. So in a way, let's look at that of you'll be remembered. We talk a lot about what's your legacy? And I think that we're really set on that I'm going to say that narcissistic social disordering way of, well, we have to have a legacy and there's got to be, no. When we're gentle with it, we will have a legacy. People will remember us and they'll love us because of who we were to them, what we were doing in our world, and why. And that's enough. We're really set on winning and being known. We need to calm it down. But what I'm saying is, perhaps the most important thing, you won't be forgotten. Something's coming up that's going to be clear to you about what you find and how you put that into action in a way that helps others put their lives in action or change their thinking. And that's all appropriate, because we are changing into a different time where we're headed into expansion, and we've been in a fixed point system. And that is completely different than where we're headed. But I think we'll really like where we're headed. I don't think we will. It's much more the nature of humanity, because it's about expression. Then once we have the idea, We need to go and play with it and draw little pictures of it and make it childlike, fun, bring it into what is natural for a child. Be curious about it. You don't have to draw like a child, but you can, what would a kid do? Right? They wouldn't say, oh my gosh, this is going to be the greatest thing. They just go and, gosh, I want to get back to that. I want to focus on that. I want to spend time with it. Do you remember being a kid and you'd want to get home after school and do the thing, whether it was a book you were reading that you loved, or a craft project, or the fort you were building in the backyard, or you wanted to go and do that thing and up level it, like, oh, well, we were just building with sticks, but you know what? We found some twine in the garage and we're going to make this sturdier. We get creative by naturally seeing what doesn't work. And that's what's being asked, is to just mess around with it. I know as an adult and in this world society that says we have to be productive all the time and be efficient, it's hard to do that, but it's possible. So let yourself do it. Mess around with your idea. Get passionate. Maybe even ask that question, where is my passion? How do I ignite that? Might even meditate on that if you like to meditate. I really only say meditate if you like it. I like it. But I think that would be a great one to take into meditation. Where is my passion? Show me. If you've been struggling with that. Or what does this mean? This information. Help me put it together. The last thing that I'll say for this week is there's an abstraction as the last message about you can't get there from here. And it just means that it's not going to be done the same way it has been done. It's not, I always think of you can't get there from here as when we're driving on a road that we'd have to go back to get where we're going. But this doesn't necessarily signal back. This signals, what if we're driving on the road and our car could levitate and go over and go down over there? What is the pathway of least resistance? And where we, in this current model system that we're in, the fixed point system, we are wanting efficiency because that is actually innate to humanity. But we don't allow that. We have to do the worksheet and do all of the things and make sure that we did this and we made our bed the right way and everything is done perfectly. And there's importance to knowing how to do that, but there's not importance in having that the way it is every day. So we're learning what is true about human efficiency, and we're innovating to create that so that we become stronger within the expression of it. And somehow in the thing that's coming up for you or for me or for the other person, we're looking at that. Where does this change? Where does the innovation and abstraction become something that creates incredible efficiency? Okay, I hope that this has served you. Have a really good week and tune in next week for the next reading. Thank you.